trouble, so I have issues.
All right, once again, it is free open seating. If you'd like to come down front, get a closer seat, because it's happening right now. Please welcome to the stage, Bryce Dallas Howard. There you go. We have a blanket for you. Oh, you're awesome. You're awesome. We have an extra blanket for you over there. This is awesome. There you go. Perfect. Well, welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. This is
Absolutely. For, first time in Pittsburgh?
It is. It is. And I told Dave Filoni a couple days ago that I was coming here, and he was awfully jealous. So, yeah, no, it's awesome.
So, have you done many Comic-Cons before?
No, this is, what would this be? This, I think it's my third. So I'm the new kid, and it's wonderful, and it's just so great to get to meet people. I honestly feel like I belong on the other side of the table, like I'm a real fangirl, and so it's wonderful getting to meet my people.
That's nice. So I got to ask you a couple things right off the bat. They'll have some questions for you a little later on. You played a wide range of characters, both in blockbuster and independent films. How do you approach preparing for each one? Diverse roles, bigger, smaller budgets. How do you go about approaching the difference between those two types of films?
I have a very strong bias toward fulfilling a director's vision, and it's because my dad is a director, and when I first started working as an actor, I made a list of all the directors I looked up to, and I was like obnoxious enough to, whenever I would work with one, I would like go to the list and like put a check mark by it. And so for me, it was, anytime I'm acting, what's most exciting is to do what I can to understand, what M. Night Shyamalan is envisioning, what Sam Raimi is envisioning, what Ken Braun is envisioning, and to hopefully breathe life into that and collaborate with them. So I'm someone who really, really, really loves directors, and then they kind of guide the tone or the circumstance in terms of whether or not it's a bigger budget or a smaller budget or whatever it is. But for me, it's about the director, when I'm working as an actor at least.
So that leads me to the next question. Working with your father, working with him, do you think he took it easier on you or harder on you than other actors, being that you're his daughter?
Well, that's the thing. I haven't worked with him as an actor. When I was 7, I was an extra.
Close enough.
I was an extra. But I've never worked with him professionally as an actor, with dialogue and all of that. And I want to very badly. And I would always sort of harass him about it. And now I'm like TikTok, dude. Like, I turn 44 next year. Like let's do this. So we'll see.
Do you ever go on the set while he's working just to see how he does work?
Always. I mean, that was really my childhood. Like, my childhood was going and spending time with him on sets for a few reasons. One is I'm the oldest of 4, and so I wanted to be on set, and so it just made it easier, like one less kid for my mom to be wrangling during the day. So I was always kind of tagging along with him, and also because he was working professionally from the time he was 18 months old, and so he just thought, and his parents were in the industry, and he first got his exposure through them, and so he just thought it was normal to bring your kids to work every day, and there are rules and boundaries and all of that. But I was so lucky to get to be witness to all of that. I remember trying on the splash mermaid tail and the cocoon alien head, and I remember every single day on the Willow set, and it was an incredible, extraordinary privileged childhood on many layers, and on many levels. And so yeah, I definitely bug him and follow him around and still visit his sets.
Do you remember the first time you were on a movie set like that? How old you were?
The first time I was on a movie set in a significant way was on Splash. And I remember they were shooting a bunch of stuff in Madison Square Garden, and I was 2, and yeah, came running at my dad. I was lucky. When you're a kid, all you want to do is stay up late at night, and when you have a parent who shoots nights, it's very thrilling because they let you go along. And so, I'm sure I was insane. I was an insane toddler running around, the set of Splash.
Did you ever bring a camera with you and just get some photos while you were there?
No, and I'm a big rule follower. And so, and I regret this a little bit, even with the beginning of my career and throughout my career. I'm always like, you can't take a picture. It's the set of Jurassic World. You can't take a photograph. It's, Star Wars. And I look back and I'm like, I was around some cool stuff, and maybe they wouldn't have yelled at me. I don't know. But no, I don't have there's some stuff, but I'm pretty strict about it.
So, do you prefer being behind the camera or in front of the camera? Do you have a choice?
I love both. I love to learn. I love to grow. That's why I do what I do. I love problem solving, being faced with something that I don't quite understand. I don't know how we're going to do it, and working with a group of people to figure it out. And so, as an actor, when I get a chance to work with a director who's an auteur director, who has a vision, I'm inevitably going to learn so much from them. As a director, as an actor. My dad said the thing that he regrets most about not being able to really act with any regularity at all is that he doesn't get to see how other filmmakers do it, because everybody does it differently. But the moment that I'm done with an acting job, I'm foaming at the mouth to start directing, and directing is I would say at the moment it's more of a priority than it's ever been in my career before. So I love it.
Obviously, a lot more control on the other side of the camera, or no?
Is there? Interesting. It's. I think that it really. Being an actor, you have to give up control. I'm not sober or anything like that, and I don't drink, but I don't I don't go to meetings or anything like that. But the Serenity Prayer is something that I'm constantly saying to myself when I'm on a set, because you can't control a lot. And but I do trust myself. And so as a director, what I really love is that while there are many things you can't control, I like to be part of solving the problem, and kind of being like, you, and you. You guys are the smart ones. Come here, let's fix this together. Whereas an actor, it's more of a sort of siloed experience, and you're sort of solving things on your own.
So you think being an actor really helped you on the other side?
Being an actor is one of the reasons why Jon Favreau hired me to start directing on Mandalorian, and he explained it very, very clearly. And I think his sort of philosophy around this really makes sense, which is that when you're an actor, you're privy to the most essential decisions that get made right before the camera starts rolling. So it's like there's all this prep, and we're all kind of having all these various thought experiments as to what we're ultimately going to be shooting. And then you get there, and the room is too small, and the actor is drunk, and someone didn't memorize their lines, and and the DP got the flu, and whatever it is. It's those kind of decisions that get made in the 5 minutes before you actually start shooting that are the most crucial decisions. And what's the term? Is where the rubber meets the road. And actors, we're there watching it and sometimes helping. Actually, I would say often helping with the blocking and, being like, oh, well, okay, it's okay that they forgot to build that whole set over there. If I kind of swing my arm and like leverage my movement in this direction, then I can block the camera and you can follow me around and wrap around with me. Like clever actors really understand filmmaking and help with that problem solving. And so Jon Favreau, being an actor himself, he believes in that transition, kind of the experience that you get being on a set being very valuable.
So I got to ask you, obviously, the thing with Jurassic World, what was it like to be part of something that resonates so strong? It's an amazing franchise. And what do you think resonates so strongly with audiences worldwide with franchises like Jurassic World?
Well, I had nothing to do with Jurassic Park resonating on the level that it did. And so it's already a project that was historic in so many ways. And so all that we could do was just, hope for the best, that we're not like ruining the legacy. Like that was definitely a serious pressure. And so in a way, you're trying so hard to just not fail. Like failure feels so possible. And so when the film was well received and people were really excited about it, we were losing it. Like, myself and Chris Pratt and Colin Trevorrow, like it's just one of those moments in life that is, you're ecstatic. And it's important to hold on to those things and really appreciate those things when it happens, because it's certainly not always like that. I think the thing that I'm most excited about is that I'm a huge fan of Jurassic. Like my wallpaper in my house is of dinosaurs. It would be that way whether or not I was in a Jurassic movie. And the fact that the franchise is continuing on. I am so excited about the next Jurassic movie with Mahershala Ali and Scarlett Johansson, and Gareth Edwards is directing it, who did Rogue One. This is going to be dope. Yes. And so, this is what we want. So I'm very, very, very excited about it.
So it's kind of almost like a dual-edged sword, though. Dealing with an iconic franchise is kind of like a blessing and a curse. You don't know if you could live up to the last one, but you have that momentum behind you from the one previous.
Well, it probably feels like a curse if it doesn't work, for some people. But it's not. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's to get a shot. That's all any of us ever want, right? We want a shot. Of course, we want to score. Sometimes we score. Sometimes we don't. But you just want to get a shot, and I just feel so lucky to have been part of those 3 movies.
So I got to ask you about the current status of, for example, there's a lot of digital content.
Yes.
The way that storytelling has changed. How do you think that it changes the impact of storytelling? Either going with film, the age of streaming, digital content. There's so many things to deal with. Do you think that's changed storytelling?
Yeah, it's constantly changing storytelling, and I think that it's just the whole sort of art commerce thing that is very tricky. It's amazing when there are technologies that allow for there to be more people seeing more things and more people creating more things. That is, you can't argue with that. That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. What's happening right now is things are changing very, very quickly for all of us in all of our various industries. And it's kind of on us being the grown-ups, to, panic is not your friend, and to have a vision for what's possible in this moment, and pivot when necessary. Streaming came out, there was a lot invested in that. I'm very happy that I have access to all the things I have access to. the business model needs to be reevaluated. It has been reevaluated. A lot of things, a lot of movies that that may have ended up in streaming are now probably gonna have theatrical releases. So, you know, the pendulum swings, and I have a movie that, a documentary that I did called Pets that's gonna come out next year on Disney Plus, and I'm really excited. It's gonna, you know, be very accessible to folks. And
Can you tell us a little bit about it, or is it still?
Oh, sure, yeah. I did a documentary a few years ago called Dads, and it was on Apple TV Plus, and it was a documentary celebrating dads, and I interviewed comedians and did profiles on dads around the world, and it opens with a video of my birth that my dad took. And so it's sort of in the same vein. It's just celebrating pets and their people around the world, and it's a lot of, I interview kids, and it's really fun, and it's being released on streaming, and I'm really, really happy about that. And simultaneously, I'm developing Flight of the Navigator at Disney, and you know, that may have a different distribution model. So it's right now, I think wisely, every studio is reevaluating things, and I appreciate that.
So I just got to back up a little bit about pets. What kind of pet do you have, and did your pet prompt you to make this documentary?
Yes. So I grew up on like a weird farm situation, my parents just, they love animals so much, and my mom rescues animals, and when anyone in our neighborhood would have an animal that was sort of like an issue, it would end up at our house. And so you know, like sheep and donkeys, and we had 20 chickens, all named Jennifer. Jennifer Alba, Jennifer Garner, Jennifer Lopez, so many Jennifers. There were, you know, adopted a zillion cats and dogs and all of that. And so right now I have five pets and 2 children. And I just, you know, pets are, for me, they're the best. They're the best.
So is it on now? Pets, is that available for people to watch?
It's April 11th. April 11th is going to be out on Disney Plus, which will be fun.
That's nice. Looking forward to that. Let's get back into stuff like Jurassic World. I want to ask you about like CGI. We're talking about technology. What is the challenge of making that look believable, blending that with stories? Do you find that to be something that you feel very comfortable using?
Yes. So that's my passion, and it's something, it was kind of the reason why Jon Favreau hired me, is because I was specializing in emerging technology sort of secretly. I was working with Canon camera for years, and I got to be the first director to shoot on the C300, the C500, the C700, was testing their lenses and all of that, and so it was really, really great to get to be in an environment where essentially you have to have beginner's mind at all times. I would say the thing for me that is the most important is for there to be a bridge between the folks who are experts in all of that, in visual effects, and the folks who are actually physically making the movie. Because you hear, I don't know if this is going to be familiar to any of you, you hear a lot of times, oh, we'll fix it in post. I don't know if you've ever heard that term. We'll fix it in post. When I hear that, I want to be like, how? Can you explain that to me? Do you actually know what's involved in that? And how long it'll take to fix it in post? If you can fix it within 5 minutes on set, you stop and you fix it on set. Because it is really, really, really complicated and exciting, and we're iterating quickly, and you know, shooting with the volume has been so fun, and of course the incredible blend of our oldest technology, which is, you know, puppetry and animatronics, with our newest technology. So it's very important that folks who are making movies in physical production understand visual effects and what it takes. and vice versa, of course. It's very important. Also, in terms of shooting, something that Jon Favreau taught me is that when you have access to technology like this, it may seem like you have, it's unlimited possibilities. That becomes a problem for the audience because we're actually used to seeing movies where there are limited possibilities. So a great example is when you're in the volume. The volume is like the thing that we shoot a lot of Star Wars things in. It's kind of, screens in the round pretty much. And what's cool is when you shoot, you get to, it creates parallax. So it looks to the human eye like you're in kind of an endless environment, and it's just a space kind of about half the size of this. And when you're shooting in there and you're shooting something, it's like magic hour, which when you're filming magic hour out in the world, you have a very short amount of time in order to get that. But when you're in the volume, you can shoot magic hour all day long. But here's the problem. If you shoot like that, it's gonna look fake to people because what people are used to seeing is the shot of magic hour, and then you turn around on the actor and you put up artificial light because magic hour is done. And that is what we're used to seeing in movies for the last 100 years, that the faces are lit in a way that doesn't quite match magic hour. They try their best to match magic hour? Absolutely. But technologically speaking, that was impossible. So now when we're shooting in the volume, you're tempted to turn around and shoot it in a way that is like, oh, now this is possible. You have to be aware that that's going to look fake to an audience. And so you need to kind of light it a little bit more like how it would be lit if you were shooting practically. If you're shooting on a boat, you want to shoot on sticks. You don't want to have a big crane coming in and all of that because you can't shoot like that when you're on an actual boat. And in the old days, you could only shoot a boat on a boat. So, these are sort of philosophies that Jon Favreau in particular has imparted upon everyone he's mentored and worked with, and it's fascinating and it's exciting and it's a trip. All of it is a total trip.
So we're going to get some questions from the audience. I have just kind of one silly question. Is there only one volume? Because they call it the volume. Is there just one of those? Or
No. There's lots of volumes all over the world. It's such a weird name. Like when I first started working and they were like, the volume. I'm like, what is the volume? Like it's like a conceptually, you're like, oh, it's a space? That's weird. So it's called the volume. But it's basically like, this is called a tent. So it's like, okay, so let's set up a tent and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Let's set up a volume and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. A lot of people are investing in volume technology around the world to kind of have them set up in places, but the technology iterates so quickly, even that is sort of a challenge.
Because to me, it just sounded like one big ominous thing that...
Right. I know, it's super weird. It's weird.
Let's get to your questions. Raise your hand if you got a question.
Pleasure to meet you.
Same.
I wanted to ask, my daughter's first upside down roller coaster was the Velocicoaster, and she was so excited to see you in the pre-show. Have you gotten to ride the Velocicoaster yet?
Your daughter is braver than me. I am so scared of roller coasters. I'm really scared of roller coasters. No, I haven't, and I hate to admit this, but when I got offered that opportunity, before saying yes, my question was, do I have to ride the roller coaster? I would have done it, but I just get so scared. And then I have dreams of nightmares of being on roller coasters, truly. So, no, I haven't. But I did the one in, the one in Universal Studios in Los Angeles with Chris Pratt. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like so nervous. And Chris was like, it's one drop, it's no big deal. And we did it, and then the drop happened, and I looked at him, and he was like, that was really intense. Like, I was like, Chris, I know it was a big drop. But anyway, good times.
Next question.
Hi, I'm with you. I agree, roller coasters are really scary, so yeah. I'm glad I'm not alone. Thank you for that. Yes. Maybe one day we can ride on one together. One day when we're both brave. So you talked about working with Jon Favreau. I'm just curious what it's like working on the Star Wars set with Dave Filoni, and if you'll ever have the opportunity to work on the Ahsoka series as well. I just want to hear more about that.
So, love Dave Filoni. I love him so much. I love him so much. And he's, he's kind of, he's a protege of George Lucas's. And what I love so much about Dave is that he's really carrying on the ethos of what Star Wars represents. I mean, Star Wars is about, so much of it is about personal growth and how hard it is to learn new things and training and having someone who is, senior to you and either being reverential to them or not. And, and it's, coming of age and all of that. And so it's beautiful because Dave is, he really keeps George at the center of what is Star Wars, and that's very, 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 very important. Also, just his work as an animator and just the way he thinks, the way he communicates, it's such a gift. It's such a gift, and Jon Favreau was so smart to have written the script and to point to Dave Filoni and say, I'm only doing this if I'm doing this with him as my partner. And they are partners. They're very much so partners. And I absolutely love Ahsoka. I mean, it's so wonderful, and I've gotten to visit the set and all that kind of stuff. And I'm never allowed to talk about what I'm working on in the future. But Ahsoka is such a wonderful series. Have any of you seen Skeleton Crew yet? Yeah. It's exciting. It just came out, so yeah.
All right, well, hello, Bryce. So wonderful to meet you.
Oh, same.
So I, too, also have a fear of roller coasters, too, so it's a good thing I'm not alone in that as well.
Yes, oh, God, yeah.
I know, it's a relief. So my two-part question for you is, what have been some of your favorite roles that you've done over the years, but also what were some of the challenges you faced on the movie sets that you were on?
I would say probably really enjoyed pretty much all my characters. I think all of them. Black Mirror is maybe my favorite. Thank you. And it was directed by Joe Wright, and that was just so freeing, unbelievably freeing to get to do a part like that. And I'm really into sci-fi, and so it's just like. I was like, oh man, this is really quite good. The Village was my first movie ever, shot it in Pennsylvania, and it changed my life. Getting to work with M. Night Shyamalan, him believing in me. I had never done a movie before. My gosh, and just so many of the experiences that I've had in my career are so positive. There are so many good people working in the entertainment industry. Really good people who really care and would absolutely do it for free. And I have to say, there's just so many women, so many men, so many individuals who I've learned so much from.
Hey Bryce, it's nice to meet you.
Will you wave? Yeah, there, hi.
So I have a question about the Jurassic saga. Like, you got to work with a whole bunch of different actors, starting with like the first Jurassic World. You got to work with Chris Pratt, and I forget who plays Henry Wu. I'm a fake fan, I guess. But of course, then in Dominion, it was pretty much, as Chris said, the Avengers Endgame of Jurassic. So out of all the actors that you got to work with, who would you say you had the most fun with? Because obviously you seemed like you had like a blast doing this, but who would you say like was probably the most fun you've had on set?
Okay, I'm gonna keep thinking, but I'm like Chris, but God, I don't know. There are some ladies who've rivaled him, like DeWanda Wise and Daniela Pineda. Like, oh my God, Justice Smith. honestly, everyone, part of all of those movies are really fun. Oh my God, Laura Dern. Laura Dern is so fun. She's so fun. She's like the most fun person. She's like party girl. Like I wish you could all just party with Laura Dern. Oh my God. But Chris is, as you all know, a comedian, and he's just, excuse my language, he's fucking funny all the time, and he's also very kind and very hardworking, and really like angst over just wanting to like just be a good person, you know what I mean? Like show up for others. And to have him as my partner for a decade, you know, my movie husband essentially, was the best.
Okay, got time for one or two more questions.
Hi, Bryce. Speaking of sagas, how was it like to take over as Victoria in Twilight?
Twilight, I was a huge fan of Twilight. One of my best friends, who then later became my brother-in-law, because I set him up with my sister, made some post-it notes for me after I saw the first movie with Robert Pattinson's face and the text "Live dangerously," because I couldn't stop talking about Twilight. I just couldn't. And so I was a massive fan. The circumstances under which I became involved in the movie was honestly it was really unfortunate, because the actor who played Victoria prior to me was spectacular, absolutely spectacular, Rochelle Lefebvre, and circumstances prevented her from being able to do the movie. And so, you know, I felt weird about that, but the entire cast was really wonderful, and Rochelle was actually really wonderful to me and reached out and was very supportive. And so, you know, I wanted to honor what had come before, and obviously my love of the books and my love of the movies, and it was, you know, it was a really positive experience.
And we have time for one last question. Then you're going to be headed to your table to sign or photo up. So please take your opportunity to do that. One last question.
Hi, Bryce. It's nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
So along those lines, with taking over Twilight, that was not a positive. Well, it was a bad guy. You also played a bad guy when you played Hilly in The Help, which I love to hate. What is your favorite thing to do, a bad guy or a good guy?
Well, bad guys are very delicious. Bad guys are very fun to play. I struggle now with playing bad guys who are close to how people actually think. So I'm not interested in playing a Hilly Holbrook character in the future. But in terms of a fantasy villain, or, you know, just an outrageous villain, or a villain we can love to hate, but truly love to hate, I mean, that's so fun. That's really fun.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time and enjoying our audience here. Give it up for Bryce Dallas Howard.
Thank you.
She'll be headed back to her table for photo ops and all that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, with my layers of
Keep it going. She's still in the room. Great job, everyone. The next Q&A is going to be Annie Potts. So keep that in mind. That's happening in about 15 minutes. So there you go.
Is it open?